Welcome to the source. The source. Source. Hey, get the source.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday to everyone. Hope you all had a nice Tuesday night. Obviously, not a ton of action on last night, but how about those Chippewas? For those of you that didn't watch, we're not going to spend a ton of time recapping the Central Michigan game, but Central Michigan had the third string quarterback in, was not able to do, he had 6 passing yards the entire game. They were not able to throw the ball. Combination of bad weather included in there. But the Central Michigan couldn't move the ball all game. So when Bowling Green scored to go up by, I think it was 16, I was like, oh, we lost. There's no way. They haven't been able to move the ball all game. They put in the backup quarterback, who is now QB4, a freshman, marches right the hell down the field, slips us in through the back door. You absolutely love to see it. So yeah, that was cool. Plus Miami of Ohio first half hit. I didn't bet that, but for those of you that took it, I know I said it on YouTube. So fun little Tuesday night. Also, we did the Sauce Network 100,000 subscriber dinner with the Met Prop Evers family. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was fun. But yeah, we got a lot to get through. We got 11 NBA games. We got 2 more college football games, and then we got Toast, Scoop, and Andy coming on. They have some college basketball to give out at the end. So we're loaded up. Let's get started. Yeah, Modi bailed on us today. Well, actually, he told me last week he couldn't make it, so probably put Skylar White as him. All right, so Orlando at Indiana. Last night when I looked at this game, this line was 7.5. I'm now seeing 4.5s pop, and honestly, if it hits 4, I'll make a play on the Pacers. I mean, the key numbers in NBA are 5 through 8, so we're not just moving. We're moving through key numbers here, indicative of sharp action coming in on the Orlando side. Based on what we've seen since Banchero went down from the Magic, no criticism of the Magic defensively, by the way. They're still playing tough defense. But the Magic offense, I'm not convinced they can consistently score points on Texas Tech right now. This looks bad. So on the road, in the field house, I don't see how they keep up. But clearly they're sharp action coming in on the other side, balancing this market, in fact, even lowering the number. If it hits 4, an even 4, I'm in. I'll wait it out. You could just put Pacers up for me. I didn't bet this game, but if you have my word, if it hits an even 4, I'll play the Pacers. Yeah, it's supposed to be minus that graphic, by the way, guys.
It's hard to argue that, Cal. I'm right there with you. I was looking through the game logs, right? Because when the line came out yesterday, I was like, I'm gonna take Orlando. I felt like Cal was like, I'm gonna take the ugly dog in this spot. I'm gonna take Orlando plus the points because the money will just come in on Indiana. It'll keep coming in. This line will finish. It'll close 8.5, 9. And I think Orlando in a super desperation spot. I think it's been 6 games that they haven't covered. They'll get a backdoor cover. I'm not sure about 4.5 at all, though. The problem is, Gal, I know that their offenses look bad, right? But if I'm making a case for Orlando here, is that look who they have played some really tough defenses recently. They had Dallas the other night. It doesn't get any better ever. You're not going to play Indiana and your offense is going to get better. You're not going to play against the Thunder and your offense get better.
Right.
I get that. And then you look at the Pacers, and it's just been overs recently. They just want to run. So, do you trust them laying any kind of points? It was the Boston game, right, where they got a 115.4 point score per 100 possessions. And then after that, they got the Pelicans. They lost that game 118 to 125. And they had an offensive rating of 121, but their defensive rating was 126. They followed that up with a game against Dallas where they give up 122 point score per 100 possessions. So I get it, but like you said, with the number coming down now, I know Orlando's offense does not look great, but it will look a lot better tonight, in my opinion, with this Pacers team that doesn't care how many points you score. They just want to score one more than you. And it's hard for me to lay points with a team that doesn't care about defense. And the Pacers have proven to me now that they don't care about defense. So I guess the play is the over. I didn't play it, but I think this has come up about 3 points. But I'm with you. 4 feels coverable, especially with them losing. We got to remember, it was just last week that they lost to this Orlando Magic team, and they were up double digits in the third quarter. Paulo Banchero has 50, not to mention Wendell Carter Jr. isn't playing in this game as well. So it's only over. It's only Pacers in this spot, even though I don't really want to lay a number with them. I think Orlando, last game of the road trip, I think it is. I think they at least fight a little bit, Kyle. Didn't bet it though.
I don't hate an over either. It seems like I think it was Ski was on the show or Ronald that said that apparently the Pacers did an interview and they're like, we got to speed our game up. And since it was Ski. Yeah. Since that interview, it's been true. They've been speeding it up. So yeah, I don't hate that. I didn't bet it either. If it hits 4, I'll bet the Pacers. But Pacers are pass. Next up is Detroit, Charlotte. This is kind of I think this is my favorite bet of the day. I think my line's long gone, by the way.
The +2?
Yeah, I got the +2. So, yeah, when I say my favorite bet of the day, I don't really give out the top bets for NBA for another couple weeks until we have some more data, until college football slows down. But I think my favorite bet of the day is the Pistons. I got it at +2. It's at -2 now. I still like it. Very simply, I wish I could share my screen. We got to figure out how to get these graphics on the screen. But
is it the Nick Richards effect?
The Nick Richards effect. So through 3 games, the Charlotte Hornets, if you remember, they were looking pretty strong to start the season. And through 3 games, they were the second best rebounding team in the NBA, even without Mark Williams. Nick Richards gets hurt, and since then, they have not won a rebounding battle since. In fact, a couple games, they got straight bullied on the glass. Enter the Detroit Pistons that might be one of the best, if not the best rebounding team in the NBA right now. The Pacers have won the rebounding battle in 7 of their 8 games so far this year. The only team they didn't out-rebound was the New York Knicks. Obviously, one of the best teams in the NBA. No, I'm just kidding. Certainly a good rebounding team, though. A lot of length on the Knicks team. They're coming off back-to-back games where they didn't just win the rebounding battle. They dominated the rebounding battle. So Pistons red hot on the glass, and honestly, who is logging serious minutes at the 5 for the Hornets? Is it Taj Gibson? You like Taj Gibson to keep this red-hot Pistons rebounding team off the glass?
Grant Williams.
or great point made. Grant Williams isn't terrible, but yeah, this Pistons team is out-rebounding everybody, and Charlotte has a serious hole at the 5. So I bet Pistons +2 before I even knew LaMelo Ball was questionable, by the way. So I was in on the Pistons regardless of him playing or not, for the simple fact of I think they're going to rinse Charlotte on the boards here. And if you've been betting basketball for a while, you know it doesn't matter if you got the shot makers. If you're getting beat consistently on the glass, you're not going to win many games. So I like the Pistons here. I think this is my favorite bet of the day. Is Pistons on the road at a pick'em, as crazy as that sounds. But yeah, I do like Detroit here.
I'm just upset, Kyle, that I didn't take the +2 because I did a show last night. I said the same exact thing. It's 3rd and 4 for Detroit, 4th and 6, but same thing for Charlotte. Charlotte's in the 4th and 6 as well. The case that could be made, I guess, if you are like a Charlotte backer, is that their recent games have been like against upper echelon teams. Like they went to Minnesota, got smoked, and large part was because Gobert ended up playing and they dominated the boards in that game. Then they lost back-to-back games to Boston. Don't know how much you want to fault them in that framework, but I just still feel like it's a buy low spot for Detroit. I think the 2 right now is still probably good money as well, Kyle. I haven't bet it. I was interested in your thought process on the total in this game. I kind of lean under. Detroit's defense has been like a little bit better, I think, than people have anticipated. They placed at the 2nd slowest pace. Charlotte also isn't playing super fast. They're in the bottom half of the league, I think 14th when I looked at it. And Charlotte, like you said, they rely a lot on second chance points. They're 5th in the league in that department. Detroit is top 10 in opponent second chance points. So I do think without Nick Richards is really, really difficult for them to score. This was at 221 last night when I looked at it. I was like, I like the under. The market moved against me at 223, but now it's come back down. I haven't bet it. I was like, I want to see what Cal says because this is not like my favorite bet of the day, but I consider under, and it's definitely Detroit or nothing for me. I'm definitely in agreement with you. And I think I had some numbers. No, I didn't. I thought I had some numbers for Nick Richards being on the floor, but Detroit's 4-0 to the under as road dogs, which they were yesterday. Hornets 5-2 to the under overall this season. The last 6 matchups between the two teams are 6-0 to the under as well. Just some trends that kind of go along with that.
Yeah, and I would lean under as well because of the pace. An average pace in the NBA is about 100 possessions per 48 minutes, something like that. And Detroit's been slightly below average, and so is Charlotte. Charlotte's actually played a couple slow-paced games in a row, so I would lean towards the under as well. And you don't have to put it up for me, though. I'm on the Pistons. I'm not touching the under. But all right, let's move on to the next one. Someone asked, is that Walter White's wife? Yes, that's Skylar White. Modi bailed on the show. Well, he let me know last week. I just didn't read his text. All right, let's move on to the next one. Golden State, Boston. Got some CLV here as well. I took Golden State at +7.5. I kind of just tailing somebody in the Discord a little bit. Steve's is like, if you're in the Discord, you know Steve's. He's all in on Golden State. He likes Golden State a lot here, and I can't even say I disagree. Golden State's playing elite defense, not just the last few games on the season. They had one bad defensive game all year. It was actually that first one against the Pelicans, and they still won the game anyway. But Golden State's been playing elite defense. On the road here in Boston, a team that's missing, I would say, their best player. But Boston's coming off a few games here. Charlotte twice and Atlanta. 3 horrible teams in a row. Are we even sure that right now, without Jaylen Brown, but that Boston's the better team without Jaylen Brown? I don't know. I mean, Golden State's playing some elite defense right now. They look really strong. I believe they've covered the number in every road game so far this year. I think they're 4-0 against the spread on the road. They were one of the best road teams in the NBA last year. So when I saw that +7.5, that felt way off to me. I was thinking more 3.5, 4. So yeah, I have Golden State. I have at +7.5, but at 6, I'm as long as it's 6 or higher, because 6 is the main number, the 2 possession mark there. So you can put Golden State up for me, Prop Beaver. I have Golden State playing lockdown defense, playing as well as any team in the NBA against a Boston team that really hasn't been tested without Jaylen Brown yet. So I'm in. Let's do it.
Damn, I'd love to be against you here, Cal, but I took the +7.5 last night too.
There we go.
And it's for a lot of the same reasons that you mentioned. Boston just feel a little untested right now. You mentioned Atlanta, Charlotte last 3 games. Atlanta was also on the second leg of a back-to-back. The game before that was against the Pacers. They lost that game outright. They were laying 6.5, lost that game outright. They beat up on the Bucks. I mean, everybody's doing that right now. They beat Detroit but didn't cover. And then, of course, they did smoke Washington. Everybody's doing that right now. And then it was an emotional win against your Knicks on opening night. So I'm not super impressed, I would say, with the Boston Celtics. The other thing that really – because this was a game I looked at it, I was like, I'm not betting this game. And then I started looking at it, and I was like, okay, no Jaylen Brown. They're still laying 7.5. Golden State, 6-1 straight up, 6-1 against the numbers so far. Not only that, then I started looking into the last time these two teams played. You know, I like to go back. Golden State lost by 52 points. It was 140-88 last year in Boston. I think with the core group of guys that they have on the team, the Draymond Green, the Kuminga, the Steph Curry, the Steve Kerr, I think they probably remember that as well. Then the thing that really pushed it over the edge for me, you talked about them playing elite defense. What does Boston do? Shoot a ton of threes, the most in the NBA. What does Golden State do? Limit threes. They limit teams to the fewest threes of any opponent. Boston also number 1 in half-court offense. Golden State number 2 in half-court defense behind only the Oklahoma City Thunder. Boston likes to push the pace. They're 4th in tempo as far as transition frequency. Golden State number 1 in opponent points in transition. So this feels to me like a step up in class. I took Golden State +7.5. I just felt a tad bit disrespectful without. So if Jaylen Brown is in, the line only moves a point, and it moves to 8.5. I just thought it was.
So if Jaylen Brown and Porzingis are playing, are the Celtics laying double digits against Golden State?
I'm with you. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I bet Golden State +7.5 last night as well.
All right, let's move on to the next one. And this is probably the easiest pass on the board for me. If the Knicks had beaten Houston on Monday night, I'd definitely be in on the Hawks. I'll probably even glance at the money line. But the fact that they're coming off a loss, Thibodeau off a loss, is usually pretty strong. And I know that everyone's going to talk about the Trae Young thing. I think that's more of an in New York City thing, and even that, it's been stretched out. No one really cares anymore. Yeah, I mean, the Knicks are a much stronger team. This Hawks team is a mess. I guess I lean Knicks -7, but like I said, this is the easiest pass on the board. I looked at this game for like 2 minutes, and I was like, I'm not betting this.
Man, I spent about 25-30 minutes on this game, and I hope it bears me some results, because I'm riding with the Knicks, baby. Let's go Tibbs. Let's go Carlton E. Towns. Let's go Josh Hart. I need all of the guys tonight. I actually, when I was looking into this yesterday, I was looking into it, and I was checking the injury report first, and I saw that Trae Young had left the game against Boston with a rib injury, and I was like, oh, and he didn't return. And I was like, oh, he probably won't play. But he actually like is going to play, and that shifted linebacker against me. But I bet the Knicks last night -8 before the Trae Young news, and it was really, in my opinion, kind of like it's a more of a spot play. I like the Knicks off a loss, of course, but I also like the Atlanta like they're tired. They're the third game in 4 nights, 4th and 6th. They have their slew of injuries, even though I know that DeAndre Hunter could potentially return in this game. And Quinn Snyder said post game, he said, quote, Trae Young and others are worn down, end quote, right now. And I was thinking to myself, and I went through the comments as well because I saw it tweeted, and people were in the comments like, bro, it's the 8th game of the season. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah,
So,
what?
I mean, you look at Atlanta defensively, they've been absolutely terrible. So I bet the Knicks -8, and I bet the Knicks team total over 116.5. So for team total wise, like simply put, Atlanta is 5th in pace and 27th in defensive rating. Like that's the perfect recipe for an opponent to go over their team total. I know Atlanta is coming off a 30-point loss to Boston. That's typically a spot I don't like to fade teams in. But the Knicks are 3rd in offensive rating right now, 10th in effective field goal percentage. They're averaging 121 points per 100 possessions. And Atlanta's given up 120 points per 100 possessions. They've given up 120 to every team that wasn't the hurt New Orleans Pelicans and the Brooklyn Nets on the opening night. And just like the Celtics, the Knicks shoot the three really, really well. Actually 42% from on the season. Best in the league. Atlanta's 3rd worst. We talked about this the other day, Cal, against above the break 3. I cashed with Derek White over his 3-point prop. New York is also 4th best rated half-court offense, and you got an Atlanta team that's 4th, that's giving up the 4th most points in the half-court. So whether they get out and run or whether they do it in the half-court, I do think that they'll be able to score. The Hawks' opponents are 7-1 to their team total over. So I bet the Knicks last night, team total over, and I took a -8. I think they win the game by double digits.
I hope you're right. Next game. I would lean toward the over also. Knicks have been playing a slow pace and playing some defense, not exactly the recipe for an over, but against Atlanta, I mean, they should score on most possessions. Yeah, exactly. They should be extremely efficient offensively against the Hawks defense. Next up is Cleveland, New Orleans. I mean, did you guys look at the Pelicans injury report? What the hell are we doing here? Yeah, I mean, obviously it would only be Cleveland. Little pissed off that I didn't get the Cavs win against the Bucks the other night. They were in control for 3 quarters of that game. Then the Bucks actually made it interesting there at the end. So yeah, it would only be Cavs, but we're talking about laying a big number on the road. And if all those question marks play for New Orleans, I would imagine the line drops a little bit. I mean, no way I'm betting the Pelicans. So I didn't bet this game. I guess if those guys are ruled out and I could still get a 7.5, I maybe put a few dollars on Cleveland, but I would imagine if Zion and Alvarado and Hawkins end up getting ruled out, that this line's climbing up closer to 10 when we get closer to tip-off. So I didn't really know what to do with. I don't. With 11 games on the board, when I see a bunch of questionables, I'm pretty inclined to pass on it. The only time I don't want to force anything, but it would only be Cleveland here.
Yeah, I'm with you, Cal. I didn't bet the game either because of what you said. Dean Wade also is out. I think that impacted Cleveland not being able to.
And maybe LeVert too.
Yeah, and I was gonna say LeVert's day to day as well. But yeah, the laundry list way too long. Hawkins, Zion. Of course, there's no CJ, no Herb, no Murray, no Murphy. And it's the 3rd game in 4 nights, 4th game in 6 nights for the Pelicans. And Cleveland actually got Golden State on Friday as well. So I stayed off of this one, but it'd be Cleveland or nothing. But it's probably not a game that I'm gonna bet if I'm being honest.
Someone said Modi's looking like Grady Dick. All right. Next up is Spurs Rockets. I may place the bet in this game. Got crushed by the market. Got crushed by the market in this one. Spurs Rockets. I took the under. I got it at 212.5. Talk about just terrible line reading on my part. I mean, yeah, sometimes it dropped from 214.5 to 212.5. I took it thinking like, shit, this might close to 210. No, it went right back up. So I'm got the absolute worst of the number here. There should be a graphic for this. And so I got the absolute worst of the number in this one. I like the under. These teams, I mean, the Spurs running extremely slow pace, and the only thing they're doing correctly on the basketball court is playing defense. So you got the Spurs running a slow pace, playing solid defense, struggling to make shots. That's how you describe the Spurs right now. Slow pace, solid defense, can't make shots. Then we flip it over to Houston. Want to know how to describe the Rockets so far? Extremely slow pace. In fact, one of the slowest paced teams in the NBA so far this year. Playing excellent defense, can't make shots. So we have two teams similarly, both running extremely slow paces, both playing great defense, can't make shots. I mean, that's just a recipe for an under. Like I said, got cooked by the market, got the absolute worst of the number, but I did place this bet. This exact bet, actually, minus 112. That's exactly what I got. The absolute worst of the market. But yeah, I'm on the under in this one.
Yeah, I wanted to get there with the under too. God, the problem is this is going to be the third matchup within like 10 days of the two. Because remember, they played the back-to-back where the Spurs won the first one and they ended up the Rockets won the second leg of a back-to-back. Then the Rockets, of course, come back with something and they win the next one. So that's one of the things that made this one difficult for me to cap. But if I had to, I didn't bet this game, but if I'm betting it, it's San Antonio team total, specifically under. The number is, I think it's still 105, 104, 105 to shop around, get the best number. But Jeremy Sohan is now out. I think he impacts not only the defense, but also the offense. Spurs don't have a lot of guys that can shoot the ball really well. And the Rockets defense is not, I mean, this is what, fourth straight home game for them as well. So they're comfortable. You also got a San Antonio team on the first leg of a back-to-back, right? I think they play tomorrow against the Portland Trail Blazers as well. So I could see, them being kind of like super precautious with Wemby's minutes, thinking that he plays tomorrow. You got a San Antonio team, like you mentioned, 25th in offensive rating, 27th in pace. Perfect recipe for under, like you said. The Rockets have held 6 of their opponents under their team total so far this season, and the Spurs have held 5 of their opponents under their team total as well. So I think we see a lot of San Antonio games only averaging 211 points. So talk about 90s basketball. And, especially with a team that they've seen 2-3 times already. This will be the third time. That's the only way that I would play it. Didn't quite get there, but it'd be San Antonio team total under for me to stay away from the Rocket side.
Yeah, don't dislike that at all. Let's move on to the next one. Chris, am I crazy for wanting to bet the Lakers here? I didn't place it, looked at it for a while. I think the market is kind of evened out and we can make a play on the Lakers in this one. Memphis is really, really battered up. Problem is the Lakers just have to show me they're capable of playing some defense. And then obviously also Anthony Davis listed as questionable, but I think he's playing, right? Or like...
So I saw last night, Cal. Yesterday during the day, I saw he was out. Then last night, I see he gets upgraded to questionable, and I'm like, hold on, what? Didn't I just see that he was out? So he went. I think he was at shoot around today. I know that the Lakers have a big game coming up on Friday, ESPN game against the Philadelphia 76ers, who play against. We'll talk about them playing against the Clippers tonight. So I mean, Memphis hates us. I will say that too. Remember we beat them 2 years ago and Ja was talking all that, nobody's safe or we good in the West. Remember that whole we good in the West campaign and how that ended for them? So I do think that they'll be motivated in this spot, especially coming off that loss against the Brooklyn Nets in a bounce back spot. Like that to me felt like a Memphis spot. So if Memphis would have won that game and, with the Lakers losing outright to Detroit as a 7.5 point favorite, I probably would come back in on the Lakers. But given her the Anthony Davis status, and we know he's made it it's my guy, but he's made it like this stuff, like he's made a tissue. So that doesn't make me want to bet the Lakers, because even if he plays, does he play the full game? How many times have you seen AD fall on the ground in the first quarter and he never comes back, and then you're like, damn, this the team I bet on? So, I mean, I think both teams will be motivated. Both teams coming off a loss as a favorite. It's not a game that I wanted to bet. Last of a 5-game road trip for the Lakers. They have not been well. 1-3 straight up, 0-3 against the number in the last 3. And I just don't like that they got the game against Philly coming up. But I do feel like they can win the game, Kyle, especially with no Desmond Bane and Marcus Smart. But I stayed off of it. I really hate to be emotionally and financially invested with the Lakers. And I'm already going to be one, even if I don't have any money on it.
Yeah, the truth is, I made the comments I just made about the Lakers defense, right? On this road trip, the defense has been terrible. But you know what? If you look at the Grizzlies game logs, that's been a pretty inefficient defense as well. I mean, they had a couple really, really nice looking games, and then a couple games where the defense just looked non-existent. I mean, both times they played Brooklyn, they got absolutely cooked defensively. So with all the injuries to Memphis, I don't know how much I really trust Memphis defense either. So maybe an over. I don't know. Just go on to the next one. I kind of wanted to take the Lakers. It looks like everyone's taking the Lakers, though. We're polling heavy on the Lakers. I did not think that would be the case. I thought most people would be taking Memphis here with the short line. But let's move on to the next one. Chicago, Dallas. Oh, man, I got nothing here.
I'm glad you don't, because I don't either.
What the hell?
I have no idea. I was hoping that you was going to be able to carry us with this one. So Levine is still listed as questionable. He missed Monday with an abductor injury. And then on the Dallas side, like, this is a team that, like, I don't feel comfortable laying points with them because Derek Lively isn't there. Like, well, he was listed as out on Monday. He's listed as doubtful for this game. And they got a game against Phoenix coming up. So I kind of feel like they'll save him for the Phoenix game, playing against a Chicago team that's, non-conference. And, I mean, your favorite to win by 9.5 points without him. Also, P.J. Washington's not there. In Chicago, you mentioned this last week. You mentioned it every time you talk about Chicago. The data points for Chicago are just like they're a really good defensive team against one time, and then they're a really good offensive team another time. Like, I can't figure them out, man. Like, they really, really kind of scare me. And for Dallas, it's the fourth of a fifth game homestand. Like I said, they got Phoenix coming up. The Bulls were good. They were profitable last year as road dogs, getting about 10 points. Dallas was also profitable, laying 7.5 last season. They were 10-6 against the spread. So the total was going up. I wanted to think it was a sneaky under, but I don't really trust that without Derek Lively and Chicago playing so fast. So I stayed off of this one too. I'm glad you did too, because I felt like an idiot maybe not having nothing at all on it.
Yeah, just to give you an idea of what we're talking about, we're saying the data points are everywhere for the Bulls. So last game, the Utah Jazz, they were home in Chicago. The Utah Jazz put up what was one of the most efficient offensive performances of the season so far. 62.9% effective field goal percentage, 16 of 36 from three. So if you look at the most impressive offensive performances of the year of all teams, the Jazz on the road against Chicago is on that list. That the Jazz literally went on the road to Chicago, cooked the Bulls defense.
With no Laurie marketing.
With nobody.
We have to add, Kyle, that remember I told you, I said, yeah, Utah team total under may be a good look in this spot. They average 99 points a game.
They put up 135.
Their team total one time. And that lets you know what Chicago does. I'm not messing with Chicago. And then
right, so they have that game against Utah at home. Before that, they had a 3-game stretch against Oklahoma City, Memphis, and Orlando. They were looking like the best defense in the NBA. So I have no idea how to get a feel for this Chicago team. Wouldn't be surprised at all if they won outright. Wouldn't be surprised at all if they lost by 40. There's just way too much variance here. Next game. Miami, Phoenix. I know the side I want to be on. I don't know if I have good enough reasons to be there.
You want to take the points?
I want to take the money line. I want Heat outright here. That's what I'm circling. I know S-Dot's about to come into the comments any second. 10, 9. You count it down. Here comes S-Dot. Heat outright. Tyler Hero over points. He's about to throw it in the comments. Same freaking bets every game. I think the Heat can win this one outright. Phoenix at home laying points is always a dangerous game to play. We saw it in the last couple games. Maybe a time, man. The thing is, the line is sharp based on what we've seen so far. I mean, the Suns are 6-1. They're perfect, undefeated at home. Like, give me a plus 7.5 here. It's a real sharp line at 5.5. Like, based on what we've seen so far, you would think Suns should be laying 7.5, 8. And I would love those key numbers 6, 7, 8. I would love them all. I want them all. But yeah, I kind of want to bet this. I might add this. I like the Heat here. They play good defense on the road. They're actually haven't lost a road game this year. They're 2-0 in their 2 road games. Granted, it was against Charlotte and Washington. But based on what we've seen from the Heat so far this year, and based on what we know about the Heat, not really a team that gets boat raced. Even when they lose, they're competitive in those games. Though the game where the Heat looked bad was a couple back against the Knicks. Actually, I think they looked terrible in their opener, but it was weeks ago. But that one game against the Knicks, I mean, would that land on 8? I mean, they didn't even get killed in that game, even though it was a terrible game from the Heat. So I think it's unlikely that the Heat are just not competitive in this game. So I want to be on the – damn, we're pulling heavy on the Heat. Everyone's taking the Heat here? Jesus Christ. I just do not have a feel for the market. I thought everyone would be taking the Suns. They're undefeated at home. So, yeah, it's Heat or pass. This is not one of the bets I posted.
It's not one of the bets I made either, Kyle, but, I mean, I can't – it's really difficult for me to argue with you here at all. It's definitely Heat or nothing. I think you mentioned the Suns being undefeated at home. How many of them have they covered, though? I think they've covered, like, one? They just keep winning by 2 or 3. Like, they're not interested in blowing teams out right now for whatever reason. And you got the Heat coming off a loss, a game that they probably felt like they should have won. Sabonis did get that tip in at the end of the game. And they're a little bit rested as well. And we talk about this on the show a lot, Kyle. Like, when you bet the Heat, you want them typically as a favorite or a dog? A dog, right? Every time, right? And they, for whatever reason, they play better on the road than they do at home. Jimmy Butler's kind of chucked it up to, the fans not getting there in time early enough. Like, I've heard him say that a couple times. Miami finished 12-6 against the number last season. To put some numbers behind that, 12-6 against the spread last season as road dogs of 5 points or more, covered 67% of their games. And then you look at Phoenix as a home favorite when they were laying 5 or more, 9-17-1 against the spread, including 0-2 this season so far. They just, whatever reason, don't cover. So it's Miami plus the points here, or nothing for me. I'm with you. I didn't bet it though.
All right, next game. Oklahoma City, Denver. I bet this one. I took Oklahoma City at 6.5. Based on what we've seen so far, I mean, how do you not?
You mean like every win being by double digits, guy?
No, I'm talking about the other side. How do you bet Denver right now against the best team in the league? I mean, Denver is a mess. They look terrible. And the deciding factor for me was now there's no Aaron Gordon too. I mean, that would be the last hurrah. If you want to bet Denver in this game, the last thing you're holding on to is, hey, we're at home in the in the elevation or the altitude, whatever the hell they say, and we're going to win the rebounding battle because Oklahoma City is not the strongest rebounding team. That's what you hold on to. That's your bread and butter right there. We could still out-rebound this team. Well, there goes Aaron Gordon, who, I mean, next to Jokic, I'm saying, clearly the best rebounder on your team. So are we even sure Denver can win the rebounding battle anymore? Because that's all you had was the rebound. I mean, what? There's not one thing that the current version of the Denver Nuggets can do that's even close to the level of the level where Oklahoma City is. I mean, this is a much better defensive team, a much better offensive team. This team could get out in transition. I'm not even convinced Denver can play in the half court with Oklahoma City right now. The reason that I was able to get a 6.5 is the allure, right? The Jokic champion a couple of years ago at home where he was unbeatable. I mean, at what point are we just betting on ghosts? Last year, Denver was one of the least profitable home teams in the NBA. They were bottom 10. So if you were betting the Nuggets at home last year, you did not make money. They were below 500 against the number at home. They're off to a similar start this year. What are they? Well, let's look it up right here. The Nuggets are 1-3 against the spread at home. So I know that there's ghosts involved here. We're all scared of the Nuggets at home, but the thing is that hasn't been a thing since 2022, 2023. So yeah, 6.5 felt fair to me. I know everyone's going to be on this side. Maybe Jokic shows up, but it's not like Oklahoma City's not going to be getting up for this one. It's Denver in Denver. So I expect to see a hell of an effort, and there's just way too much of a talent discrepancy here. If you look at the Nuggets rotation, it's crazy. I mean, you need Russell Westbrook to log serious minutes. You need Hunter Tyson to log serious minutes. DeAndre Jordan is going to have to play a role in this game.
Watson.
Peyton Watson. I actually kind of like Peyton Watson.
Me too. You know Aaron Gordon, though.
But yeah, I mean, I know that Oklahoma City isn't exactly healthy either, but they're still deep as hell. I mean, they're going to have Caruso coming off the bench. I like this Oklahoma City team. How can you not? So yeah, I laid the 6.5.
You ready to hit my case, Kyle, for the plus 6.5?
You're not on Denver.
You ready for this?
What is it?
There isn't one. I took OKC minus 5 yesterday.
I was going to say, what are you about to say here?
I just like the suspense. I mentioned this earlier. They've won every game by double digits so far. This was the telling point to me, Kyle. Remember, this was the opening night game, right? You got divisional game, so you know OKC is going to get up for it. They were +2 in that game in Denver, right? And I said, man, I really want to take OKC here +2. I think that they can win. They played well in Denver last year. I remember them winning 2 games in Denver last year. The line opened up at -4. To me, that's telling, right? You go from +2 because you got smoked so bad in the first game to now, -2 to now you're +4 at home. When is Denver ever catching this many points at home, even just in the opener? There's no Jamal Murray. There's no Aaron Gordon. The Aaron Gordon effect is big. Denver is a +13.2 in points scored per 100 possessions with him on the floor, a -13.7 with them off the floor. Their offensive efficiency is 100.7 points scored per 100 possessions with him off the floor. So if you're looking to play this one, because I played -5, if you're looking to play this one, I think it's still a play. I think you just take Denver team total under 108.5. The number, I expected it to move a little bit. It has not. And I talked about with Aaron Gordon being on the floor, their offensive efficiency being with him off the floor, 100.8 points scored per 100 possessions. With him on the floor, the offense was doing well, 127.6. That's a 27 points per 100 possessions differential there with Aaron Gordon being on the floor. That's all the lobs and dunks. That's the offensive rebounds. So I think that's the way you play it right now. The team total under 108.5. The last 4 matchups that they played, including this season, all went to the under. Denver has failed to reach 101 in the last 2 matchups as well. So I laid the 5 last night, but I think the live, like if you're looking for a play now, you just take the team total under. I'm not sure how Denver scores 100 points tonight with Russell Westbrook and Peyton Watson out there.
All right. Next game, I don't dislike the under either. In the first matchup between these two, I took Denver team total under in the game, so I like it. I got it. I believe I got it at 115.5 though. How the markets have changed there. Toronto, Sacramento, and the disrespect being given to my dogs up there is crazy.
7-1 against the spread dogs.
No, 7 in a row. 7 in a row. And I'd be lying if I said I looked at this game. I bet it though. I bet it. I jumped on the Raptors train. I think it was 4 games ago. It was the Hornets. It was my first time. I enjoyed my stay, and I checked in for another stay, and I've been continuing to check in to this resort that I call Raptors ATS. Raptors ATS resort, lovely this time of year, reasonably priced. I suggest you plan a visit. Of course, I bet
it's underpriced. Actually,
it's way underpriced. It's underpriced. So you're getting a 5-star resort at the price of a 2-star resort here. No, but in all seriousness, the Raptors have covered 7 straight, and I think the NBA more than any other sport is where you can find these instances, and they're beautiful. And this is very unique to the NBA, a team that continually loses basketball games but covers, because you can continually win your bets and the market never adjusts, because people look and they're like, oh, they're 2-5 in their last 7 games. Like, they suck, even though they're 7-0 against the spread. And you can just keep winning bets because they continue to cover. So yeah, I didn't even look at the matchup. Didn't care. Raptors have covered a lot of games in a row for me. I'm not checking out of the resort yet. I'll let you know if I check out.
Yeah, I don't know why I haven't pressed the button yet, Cal, but I'm right there with you. I mean, how could you not be? You didn't even talk about Toronto. You didn't even talk about the Sacramento side. Outside of them being 7-1, their offense is so when I tell you that a team is 7-1, it tells you that the market hasn't caught up yet. And then when I tell you they're 7-1 to the over, it means that the market hasn't caught up yet to their offense. Like, they're scoring the basketball. Who cares if they're giving up a bunch of points? They're able to score, and I think that's what's being mispriced. Sacramento will be fired up for this game. I do agree with that, because Toronto just beat them in Toronto the other day on Vince Carter night, right? But the spot does not align well for Sacramento. First game back home after a 4-game road trip where they were traveling all over the place. They were in Toronto. They finished in the Southeast in Miami, and actually Toronto actually got to Sacramento before they did, because Toronto last game was in Denver, so they were already on the at least Mountain Time zone. I think all of that comes into play in this game. So 10. This actually moved to 11. Like, I
got a 10.5. I got the worst of the number. I don't care.
Like a couple of other things. Shout out to my guy Joe the Gambler. He put this in the Discord. He said the Kings are, and I looked into this as well, but his numbers were stronger than mine. Since 2022 season, the Kings are 1-7 against the spread, playing their first home game after 4 road games, and then if you beat a team as a 5-point dog and you're a 5-point dog again within the first 10 games of the season, it means that the market hasn't caught up yet. 15-4 against the spread, going all the way back to 2010. So yeah, Toronto is the right side again. 10 is.
You're officially checking in to Raptors ATS Resort.
I'm gonna be there for a while too. I'm putting my feet up.
Yeah. Checking in. Long-term stay. Someone told me my stay at the resort is over welcome. Kings minus 11. All right, next game.
What they don't understand, Kyle, is you probably wouldn't even you wouldn't even consider your stay being over. You probably just looked at what back in the next game.
Yeah, I would need two consecutive. I would need to be 2 consecutive L's. I'm enjoying my stay so far at Raptors ATS Resort. And if they continue to price it this way, I may just live here permanently. Next up, Sixers, Clippers in LA. Clippers ended up coming back and winning that game, by the way. They were getting dogged out early. So they got their first win in the arena, which is huge. Congrats to Clippers Nation, all 16 of you. Congrats on your home win there. Really
close, Cal. You're boosting it up because they got the Intuit Dome. It's only about 12 real Clipper fans.
Yeah, there's not many.
They're family members of the players. That's it.
The family members of this. Actually, they're probably low-key Lakers fans too. They're just supporting their family member. But in this one in particular, I love the way the Sixers looked the other night, man. I had Sixers money line at I think it was plus 245, plus 240, something like that. Thought I had it. Choked the lead out away at the end. Maxey missed a free throw. I almost whipped the remote through the screen. I was very upset because I was 1-3 in the NBA that night. I placed 5 bets. I was 1-3. That was the last one, but it was plus 240. So if it hit, I actually had a winning NBA night. So I was like, my whole night, green or red, was riding on the Sixers, and they were up 7 with like 2.5 minutes left. Like, oh my God, Maxey, got to make those free throws. But regardless, team was playing with a lot of energy offensively. They looked a lot more fluent. Yeah, maybe Paul George didn't look amazing in the game, but I think the Sixers are playing with more confidence right now than they were 2 weeks ago. Kind of think they win this one. Didn't bet it, though. I feel like the line's a little too short, and maybe everyone's like, oh, the Sixers are good now, like plus 1.5. Like, based on how the Sixers have played, shouldn't I be getting 4.5 here? So I didn't play because the line's just too short, but I do think the Sixers are live here.
And Kyle, that was such a perfect analysis of what my brain is thinking. Like I just want a few more points. Like
I know
I didn't get a chance to watch that game. Like I haven't watched like the whole Paul George effect. Is he still going to be on a minutes limit? Like it's kind of difficult to shoot inside the Intuit Dome unless you're the San Antonio Spurs in the first quarter. You can score 40 and then not even get to 110 for the full game. But yeah, I mean, offensively, it was the best output that they've had so far. 116 points scored per 100 possessions against the Phoenix Suns. But defensively, they still struggled. They gave up 120 points per 100 possessions. But it is a Phoenix offense that's a lot better than this Clippers offense. So I don't know, guys. Like I just want to feel like kind of feel Philly out a little bit more. They'll be in LA again after this game. Like I told you, they got the Lakers on Friday for the ESPN game. So maybe I'll watch this game and see if I want to make a bet in that game on them. But like you said, I would want 2 possessions, maybe plus 4.5. But I know I'm not laying points with the Clippers right now. That's not what I want to do.
Yeah, 4.5. I'd make a play. Just 1 possession game. I could get there. We're basically taking them out, right? Clippers are playing good defense too. It's not like the Clippers have been playing terribly. Yeah, Sixers are best. All right, we're on to some college football. Make sure you guys give Chris a follow. He does a morning show on YouTube every single morning, bright and early. Thanks, Chris, for joining. See you tomorrow.
Appreciate you, Kyle. See you tomorrow.
All right, let's talk some college football. And we get to talk about the mighty Kent State Golden Flashes. Scoops, one of his favorite teams. Just kidding. I don't know if he likes the Golden Flashes or not. All right, let's get everyone on the screen here for some Golden Flash football. Probably was going to set the screen up. All right, so Andy, are the Golden Flashes live?
Oh hell no! God no. Honestly, I didn't put it in the graphics because I'm not sure. I wanted to see what you guys thought. I don't like a side in this one because the number's so high. What about the under? The unders or the totals at 52.5. I have a hard time believing Kent State's gonna really score at all. So do you think Ohio, who wants to run the ball, can score like that?
Well, I was just going to say that's going to be the game plan. I would imagine Ohio comes out and hands the ball up 45 times because literally Kent State's defense is incapable of getting off the field if Ohio State hands the ball off. Not to mention this is a rushing offense this year. That's what they've been. I can see it.
This is the first total they've had in conference play of at least 50. All of their overs are hitting, but they're all 45, 46, 48.
Yeah, I mean, this is
higher. So
this is just such a different offense this year without Curtis Rourke. It's just they're very reliant on the run. So in this game, if I'm Ohio, I'm coming into this one thinking like, let's just not screw this up. Let's just run the ball, take the win. Who cares about making it look impressive? They need this one to be bowl eligible. After this, they do have a home game against against Ball State. That's very winnable. They also play Eastern Michigan, so it's not like if they lose this game, they're not going to make they probably still would either way. But if I'm Ohio, I'm just running the football. So yeah, I don't hate an under at all here, and I actually don't. Problem is, even if the clock's rolling and Ohio's just running the ball, what if Kent State just can't keep him out of the end zone? It could still go over anyway, even if it is a slow-paced game. Scoop, what do you think?
Hello everybody. Yeah, good old Kent State. Looks like they may not improve on last season. They are very bad. Parker Navarro's been pretty decent. He's no Rourke, but he's been a solid dual threat quarterback. He's been a huge part of the offense. Kent State only covered a spread like this once, over 19.5. They just can't cover games. It's a really bad team. I haven't bet this, and I'm going to give you a heads up right away, but I like the over more than the under. Listen, they allow 6.1 yards per carry, which will allow Navarro and Ricky Hunt to move the ball pretty easily. Kent State's second to last in defensive EPA per play, last in EPA per rush. I don't really see that changing anytime soon. They're also dead last in scoring defense. So I'm kind of with you. It's like, what if Ohio's just going to keep scoring the ball? Believe it or not, Kent State's offense actually hasn't been that awful. They did score 21 plus in 3 of their last 4 MAC games, 33 on Eastern Michigan, 35 to Ball State, 21 to Western Michigan. No, what's his name? Olatowski. He hasn't been good. But Ohio's
2 home games, though. It's 2 home games.
They can get beat through the air. I mean, Ohio's defense is 74th defensive success rate, 99th on EPA per dropback. So as much as Kent State is the worst defense in college football, I think they can put up some points. And their running game has actually been better than the beginning of the season. So I do like the over. Ohio should put up a ton of points, especially just shredding that Kent State run defense. I know, like Andy said, Ohio hasn't scored much all season except that game with Buffalo, but I mean, it's nice to play Kent State in the schedule, so they should score a lot of points here.
So, all right, so you put Kent State plus the points up for me. I didn't bet this. Did not bet this. And if you watch the video, you know what I'm about to say. Tommy Ulatowski, since he took over as starting quarterback 4 weeks ago, he is technically QB3. QB1 and QB2 got hurt for Kent State. So Tommy Ulatowski takes over. His first 2 starts were his only 2 home starts. Went nuclear. Was actually throwing the ball all over Eastern Michigan, all over Ball State. 394 yards, 4 touchdowns. 345 yards, 3 touchdowns. So every single home start, every Kent State home game where Tommy Ulatowski has started, he's gone off. There's only been 2. Come on. Kent State. I didn't bet it, but Ulatowski has shown us that in these home games, he can throw the ball. And I mean, throw 370 yards, 4 touchdowns, 345 yards, 3 touchdowns. Let's do it. Flashes. Next.
Flashes.
Next up, this is the one I did bet. And I know that some people may have been surprised to see my bet in this one because I've been very vocal about being a fan of this Northern Illinois team this year. I'm a believer in this Northern Illinois team entering the season. They were my pick to win the MAC. That being said, Western Michigan offensively has just hit another gear. In the last 3 games, they're averaging like 45 points per game or something. Hayden Wolf seems to be getting comfortable. They're running the ball. They're doing all kinds of different things offensively, and it all seems to be working. Yes, they have seen some bad defenses recently, That's why if it was like 33 points per game, I wouldn't care. But they've been lighting the scoreboard up. Like this offense is looking so efficient right now at home. Now this is going to be a tough test because Northern Illinois defensively is playing great. They're playing their best defensive football of the year right now. But the Northern Illinois offense has problems. The quarterback got hurt, but he's back. But even before he got hurt, things haven't looked right for Northern Illinois. They were very reliant on the run game all year. Even the run game isn't looking great. The only reason they've continued to win football games recently is their defense. So on the road, Western Michigan, not a great defensive team at all. In fact, they're a pretty bad defensive team. But I don't really trust this Northern Illinois offense to go on the road and be laying points. So I'm getting the home dog. Western Michigan's offense should have their hands full, but in my opinion, I think Western Michigan, based on the play in the last month or so, I think Western Michigan should be laying a point and a half. So catching them, I got +2, but obviously +1.5. Cool. Yeah, I think they win. I think they win a close game.
Yeah, I bet this too. I like Western Kentucky here.
Are you like Western Kentucky?
Like the Hilltoppers tonight? That's awesome.
Hilltoppers?
Western Michigan. Northern Illinois has been really inconsistent. They had that huge win against Notre Dame, followed it up with a terrible Buffalo loss, then beat the MAC leaders in Bowling Green, and last week lost to an awful Ball State team. So these are two teams that Western Kentucky beat already. Now they're traveling to a team who's undefeated in MAC play, and their offense is putting up a massive amount of points. Their 4 MAC wins the last 4 weeks. They've scored 178 points. Their defense isn't much of anything, but this is a midweek MAC football we're talking about. I'm ready for a shootout. I just don't know if Northern Illinois can get there with a shootout. Their offense has really been struggling, like Kyle said. They could hardly move the ball against Ball State. Toledo, they scored 6. Bowling Green, 17. But Western Kentucky's offense just seems like a juggernaut right now for the MAC. They lead in overall scoring offense, total offense, rushing offense, number 1 in the MAC for all 3. So, yeah, even though Northern Illinois is one of the better defenses in the MAC, their offense looks out of sync. So, as much as they can stop Western Michigan, I don't know why I said Kentucky before. So, I'm not sure they'll be able to do that because they're not just going to score offensively enough to keep this game within striking distance, I think. So, plus, even though Western Michigan's given up a bunch of points and yards, they're making key stops when it matters. They played harder. Definitely, they played harder offenses than this. So, I think this should be a comfortable win for the Broncos, personally.
Our truth, Andy, someone's asking you for the weather. By the way, comments all came to your defense. You were right about the weather reports.
Yeah. There's nothing in Kalamazoo tonight. It's going to be nice there. So there's no problem there. I agree with you guys. We're sweeping Western Michigan here. I think if you break down Western Michigan's season, 3 of their first 4 games were against they were all non-conference games. 3 of them were against FBS opponents, and they played a game with Bethune-Cookman where they had a lot of offense. They didn't do anything in the other 3 games. Those were against Wisconsin, Ohio State, and Marshall. Better defenses, right? They're really good defenses, obviously, especially Wisconsin and Ohio State. And now when they've gotten into MAC play, they've gotten comfortable. Hayden Wolf's done some things. The offense overall has done some good things. And I know that obviously Northern Illinois is really good, and they're one of the better MAC defenses. We saw it last week that Ball State was able to do some things on this defense. The success rates show that. So, and that was a road game. That was at Ball State, and this Northern Illinois defense struggled a little bit in terms of like Ball State was getting some good plays done on them, and now I think that Western Michigan can do the same. So I would side that side. These MAC games, it's the home team usually. I also like to side them, although I think yesterday we were against one of them. But yeah, I'm like Western Michigan.
Yeah, and someone said that this number got up to 3. I'm seeing 2.5, but it looks like it had moved a half point towards that direction. Not worried about it. I got 2. So it looks
Western
like
Kentucky, you'd be better.
Yeah, if you bet Western Kentucky, you'd be fine. All right, next up is college basketball. And yep, I'm gonna bounce. Toast is gonna host this one. Yeah, see, well, this is a true test. Can you guys hold viewership without my face? Let's see if you're capable of it.
Everybody's just going.
4-0 in college basketball, so feeling good so far. Dinkelberg.
Hold on, Toast is about to. Proppy was about to replace me with Toast Face, and you guys all enjoy your day. I'll be posting videos later tonight. Have a good one. Best of luck. Rutgers is up first, huh?
How are you?
Toast probably feels really good about this one.
I feel fantastic. How's everybody doing today? I see that I'm on the screen now.
I can't hear Toast, so that sucks.
Really? Can you hear me, Andy?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Come in and out. Scoop.
Yeah, I'm going.
Yeah, so as we wait for Scoop, should we just wait for him or no? Probably not.
No, you can stop.
Andy, do you have a play on this game? Obviously, it's in New Jersey. I know you can't bet it, but
I did look. I looked at something. I mean, I've looked at this Rutgers team overall. I watched their exhibitions. I can't wait to watch them, but kind of sucks that Ace Bailey's not going to play today. So
yeah. So I bet Wagner at plus 20.5 before the Ace news came out. Obviously, Ace Bailey, 6'10" freshman. Between him and Dylan Harper are going to be the two studs of this Rutgers team. There's no question about that. I wasn't really betting Wagner because of him being I mean that doesn't really change my mind. I don't even think the 3 points really does anything for me. If there's one thing that we know about Rutgers is that they can defend, but they really can't score. I think obviously nationally over the last 5 seasons, especially at the rim, I mean there have been a top 10, top 25 team defending it at all times. It's the offense that you have to worry about. And if you take Ace Bailey out, now you have Dylan Harper, who's another freshman, Zach Martini, who's a graduate senior, Jeremiah Williams, who's a senior as well. But everybody else is a lot. They have a lot of young freshman guys on this Rutgers team. And as far as Wagner's concerned, yes, obviously they don't play in a fantastic conference in the NEC, but at the same time, this team they lost 3 of their better scorers, that's for sure, but they are also flooded with seniors and graduate seniors. I mean, Rahir Moore, Zaire Williams, Keontae Williams, or Lewis, he's a junior. But all these guys can really play basketball. And at the same time, we know that Rutgers is going to slow it down. Guess what? Wagner's going to slow it down too. I just don't see how Rutgers wins by 20-plus points. I just feel like both of these teams are going to try to slow this game down. And obviously we can see this by the total as well. It's a pretty damn low total. So I took the 20. I would still be fine with the 17.5. I don't think that Ace Bailey is really worth 3 points personally, especially in the first game of the season. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but that's just my personal opinion. So I'm more than comfortable with my Wagner side.
Yeah, this is our year. Rutgers Big Ten Championship, NCAA tournament. It's easy. It's in the bag. Okay, they probably won't win the championship or anything, but it is the first time they're ranked in the preseason in 45 years. And this is only after returning 3 players. Obviously, the 2 reasons are Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper, the number 2 and 3 prospects in the country, right behind Cooper Flagg. It's really the most hyped people have been for this team. I really don't know why they picked Rutgers over Duke, Kansas, those 2 prospects, but I'll take it. It does help that Harper's brother played here and he loved it. The big thing for Rutgers is they have scoring now, and it's arguably the most talent they've had ever. So Jordan Durkak was Northeast Player of the Year. He's here. Martini's from Princeton. Acuff averaged a bunch of points for Eastern Michigan. The team's just really deep. They're going to attack the basketball and score more than they ever had as a team, probably ever. Keep in mind, that is on paper. They did lose to St. John's in preseason, but St. John's will be a good team too. I'm sure we'll talk about them sooner or later. I know Andy loves them, but yeah, they did struggle a bit defensively, something Peichel hasn't really been used to. Rutgers is mostly a defensive school. It's going to be a big change of pace. Wagner, like Toast said, isn't a bad school. They ran the tournament last year, made it to the NCAA tournament, and they're projected to be on top of the Northeast Conference again. And more importantly, they're not injured, because last year they were running a 7-man squad through the later half of the season. So if I made a bet, I would take Wagner plus 17.5. As a Rutgers alum, I would love Rutgers to cover this by 40. But I can't bet this anyway. But yeah, I'm excited to watch the game. It's the first one on TV today in about an hour. But I would still lean Wagner if I was taking a side.
Rutgers has hit a wall in consecutive seasons. I feel like midway through the season they just hit a wall and wind up missing the tournament in both seasons.
You're pounding nails like Steve Peichel, it just can get to you at times. You know what I'm saying, Andy? So also the other thing that I don't like about Rutgers right now is that, at least with their starters, with Williams, Harper, Martini, and all those guys, none of them can shoot. Martini can shoot, but everybody else can't shoot from deep. So unless they're just getting like easy open looks inside all night long in a slowed down game, I just have a hard time believing they're just going to blow this Wagner team out. But anywho, I guess one of the more anticipated games on the college slate so far this year is with Cal and Arkansas. Do either one of you guys have a bet in this game? Yeah.
Start the season. I mean, upset used lightly. They're only 3.5-point underdogs, but yeah, listen, they led from start to finish. They shot really well from three. They shot over 50%. This isn't the same Duquesne team as last year when we made some money during that tournament run. They're still a decent A-10 team. Yeah, so the biggest thing for Arkansas, before you talk about the players, if no one knows, John Calipari's there from Kentucky, obviously. I'm sure you heard that name. I just don't see Arkansas having a really solid team this year, as much as Calipari's there. D-Rose is supposed to be a star, and that's him after barely averaging 7 points. No, I don't really see him being a star. I know Jonas Idu is going to be a big transfer from Tennessee, but he's hurt to start the season, so he's not going to be playing here. And the Arkansas guards look pretty bad against TCU and definitely inconsistent. So I see this team kind of going the way of the Baylor team in the beginning of the season. This team's going to need I'm not going to get blown out by the Lipscomb or anything. I'm saying this team will need time to gel together. I like Lipscomb to cover here. Arkansas has some talent. I just don't think they're going to be a great team in Calipari's first year. And Lipscomb looked decent in their first game, so I'm going to take them.
Andy, how do you feel about Arkansas this year?
Oh, I love Arkansas this year. I agree.
SEC lover.
I was going to cover today. Pretty much everybody I've seen is on Lipscomb, and I get it. They're one of those mid-major teams that everybody looks at and they're like, well, this team always goes on tournament runs in their conference tournament and in the tournament. But early in the season, these types of teams usually aren't the same as they are in March, obviously. And you could say the same thing about Arkansas, but I think Arkansas is just loaded with talent. And again, that's every John Calipari team ever now. He's always has the most talent. But I think you've got DJ Wagner. He's getting comfortable in this system now. The big, I forgot how to say it. I think Ivicic or something, the big Z. I think he might get some minutes here, but I mean, they're loaded up with talent. Adu's good, but he's more of a guy I'd want. Like, he's more of a rebounder than anything. So I mean, they are probably losing who's going to be their leading rebounder this year, but they're so talented that I think that they're more athletic than Lipscomb. Lipscomb hasn't gotten to the point in their season where you start to see the actual good Lipscomb team. So I don't see this one being particularly close.
Yeah, I'm not an SEC lover like Andy, but at the same time, I do feel like this Arkansas team could be a little bit better than people are giving them credit for. Scoop's not the only one that I know that doesn't like Arkansas either, and I'm not willing to die. I don't like one thing I don't like the fact that Brazil wasn't to be a starter. I mean, I just feel like a redshirt junior like that has played really well for Arkansas in the past. I assume that he would be a starter for Cal, and he's not. I mean, John L. Davis, who played obviously for FAU last year, who's been a star as a senior, shoots over 40% from three. I really wanted to get to Lipscomb, but at the same time, they're a pretty heavy public dog. And the one thing that has me off of them is them playing defense. I don't worry about them offensively. I think that their talent and the fact that they're, essentially all seniors, I don't really worry about them on the offensive end. It's the defensive end that gets me. I mean, last year, 308th nationally in adjusted defense, 10th in the A-Sun. I mean, they're still projected to be one of the better teams in the A-Sun, if not the best team in the A-Sun. But when you're playing a team like Arkansas, that I would assume has a little bit to prove now with Cal and that newly roster, I lean Arkansas, but I really wouldn't play it. I do agree with Andy though. I think that the Lipscomb defense could get exposed here tonight. It's definitely not an easy one, that's for sure. So. What's on the next? Oh, great. Here we go. Andy, go ahead. This doofus ass team of Yukon. That's so good. The best team that we've ever seen in the last 100 years of college basketball.
Two-time national champion.
Is that not what you said? Is that not what it is?
I did at the time, and I agree. I mean, they didn't lose another game. I think they lost one more game. But no, this year I expect them. They're much younger than they've been in years past. Like, they still have Alex Caravan, which is great, but McNeely's brand new. Some of the other guys are brand new. I mean, obviously they have a couple of transfers in there as well, but it's a pretty brand new team, so I don't exactly see them covering 36 basically at this point. But yeah, I know a little bit of a season preview type thing here. I think that they are a slight bit worse than they were, or a slight bit not as good or not as great as they were last year, but this is still a top 5 team in the nation. But I think early in the season, these numbers, I don't think they're going to cover these because they are much younger than they were last year. I mean, last year they had Klingon still, Hawkins. They had some of these guys, or Stephon Castle. They still had some of those guys that were still there last year. They're gone now, and now they're younger. So I think it'll take a while for them to get in a rhythm. But They will be there eventually, but I would take Sacred Heart if plus 35.5.
Scoop, I know you're a Yukon lover.
Greatest team of all time. Yukon is back. They do have the shortest odds to win the title again. I do think they'll win the Big East pretty easily, but that's because the Big East is the Big East isn't even good. So they're looking to be the only second team to three-peat. They definitely have the talent to do so. Hurley's probably the best coach in the nation, if not top 3. I don't think anyone can really argue with that one. He did turn out that Lakers job to come back, so you got to think he can do it. They do have returners in Caravan, Diarra, Johnson. I think Diarra and Johnson probably have to step into bigger roles here, and Solo Ball will have a way better role here too. And listen, the bench always has depth for Yukon. I personally think Liam McNeely will be the best freshman in the Big East. He'll be a solid wing on the other side of Caravan. I know Toast follows St. Mary's, so he knows Aiden Mahaney. He's okay. Solomon Ball's okay. I think Cam Spencer is better than both of them, so I think that's a big downgrade and for that position. And for center, yeah, I'm not sure if Samson Johnson is going to be a fit for an everyday player. That's a big loss. I do think Yukon, like Andy said, is a worse team than last year. I don't see them running through teams like they did the last few years. Very hard to see them winning in the tournament. I don't think they're going to three-peat personally. Sacred Heart, they already played, so not only do they have to play Yukon, they play them on a one-day rest. They already lost to Temple. Did cover by 2.5 points, but they actually look pretty good. But it's 34.5. It's hard not to pick chalk here. Yukon's just a way better team. Should start this one in a blowout, so I would take Yukon.
Yeah, there's not a chance in hell I take Sacred Heart in this game. I think that there's one thing that Yukon has proved over the last couple of years is that they beat the teams that they're supposed to beat, and they beat them pretty bad. Sacred Heart, a team that I looked into, it's just really hard to get there. I mean, they got one guy, Bryce Johnson over from Northeastern, who's a graduate senior that seems to be a decent player. I'm not going to act like I know a ton about him, but just under 40% from deep. But everybody else is guys, redshirt juniors. They got a guy in Amari Stewart who came over from Division II who has a really good chance. They like to shoot the three ball. That's one thing that they're really, really good at. Last year, that's how they won the NEC or whatever. Is they're essentially a transition three team where they would go threes or layups, like a poor man's Alabama in a way. I'm just trying to give you guys an idea of what the type of style this team plays. So I just think that also on top of that, the overall size of Yukon is going to be a huge mismatch for them. So even if they are getting up and down, I still think that Yukon's be able to get hands in the face and stuff like that. So again, if I could get to Sacred Heart, I really would. But there's just no way in there. I think this game's probably going to be a complete blowout. So trust me, I really wanted to get to Sacred Heart too, but there's just nothing there for me. So what's next? I can't see the screen.
Vermont and Auburn.
Oh, welcome to the jungle, baby.
I was going to say it's not college basketball until Toast sings "Welcome to the Jungle," but I don't think it's there yet.
Do either of you guys have a play? I'm on Auburn, but I'll see since I'm hosting. Do either one of you guys have a play in this game?
Not a play. You could spew your Auburn thing.
Okay. Well, first of all, I love betting Auburn at home. I think that one of these things that I also love is the fact that everybody's in love with Vermont, and I think that this line is big for a reason. I bet Auburn at 14.5. I didn't bet them at 17.5. I still think they win by 20 plus. Vermont plays in a very weak conference, and last year the offense wasn't as good as it has been in the last 5 years. I think they're starting to see some dwindling of some of their guys leaving. Vermont is also known for playing very good defense, but when you have guys like Broom and Denver Jones and Baker Mararza, or however you say his last name, they should put on a show coming back for a year. I know that Auburn has Houston on deck as well, but I don't really see this as a flat spot. Bruce Pearl and these guys just play completely differently, especially at home, and they're trying to make a Final Four run. They have a whole bunch of guys coming back with, like I mentioned, that have a ton of production last year. They're a way bigger team than Vermont is. I think that there's a lot of people that like Vermont because they're going to be one of the better teams in their conference, if not the best team in their conference. I really don't think it matters here today. I really think that Auburn rolls here.
Yeah, go ahead, Andy.
I agree 100%. It's kind of similar to Lipscomb, team people look at. They're like, ooh, in March Madness, this is a team that usually will give them a run. They always win the Vermont Invitational, as we call it, when they play their conference.
I forgot about that. Yeah,
Auburn's a little bit different. Obviously, this is probably Bruce Pearl's best team, I would say, in recent. I mean, they were great 100%. Last year, and they were great the year before, but this team's just as good. They added a couple of pieces. The only guy they lost was like a guard who went to Michigan. And he didn't really play much last year, so This team's just going to be really good, and I think they could blow them out quickly. Home game, I don't necessarily think it'll be the jungle that we'll see when they're playing good SEC teams, but it is still their first game of the season. Students are there. So, yeah, they want to get a couple of games in before winter break when they leave. So, yeah, I think that it could be a crazy atmosphere, and it's something Vermont is not used to. Also, probably my guess would be much quicker. Auburn's usually a pretty quick team, and Vermont obviously plays in a conference where they can kind of slow it down if they wanted to. So, not as athletic. So, yeah, I think Auburn crushes in this one.
Yeah. If you follow Vermont, you know the Catamounts are always the ones who win the America East every single year. They're always a solid mid-major. They cause some upsets, and they did return their two top scorers. They're definitely took a hit, but they do have some pretty good transfers for America East standards anyway. I mean, listen, they're going to be number one again in that conference. They're actually ranked in the top 80 in Ken Palm, which is good for a program like them. But I can't go against Auburn either. They came back with a ton of production. Their top 4 scorers are back. Baker Mazzara. Broom's probably the best player on that team. That guy, Pegues from Furman, I was reading about him. He's a solid 3-point shooter. So it's just going to add more shooting to that already ridiculous team. So even with all that production back, yeah, there's no way I'm taking Vermont. Vermont's a solid defensive squad. John Becker has been the coach for Vermont for 13 years. He preaches patience, defense, but yeah, I don't see them coming in. They just won two days ago. UAB, they were underdogs and won straight out.
That was surprising.
Straight out, but you're playing the second in 2 days and playing Auburn at home. I don't see it. I think Auburn covers here.
The other thing that I like about Auburn, not just tonight, but going forward, is their age. I mean, they're all essentially every single person is a senior besides that Pettiford kid or whatever. But mostly that 8 or 9 guys that they're playing are all seniors or redshirt seniors. Not that Vermont is some young team, but after you get past that starting 5 for Vermont, they start to get really young with a whole bunch of freshmen and stuff like that. So, I think Auburn rolls and we see a little welcome to the jungle, which I just can't wait. I'm so excited. I love me some jungle. Last game on the night, San Diego. Do you guys have a plan?
Ryder stinks. San Diego wins. That's it. No, but really, Ryder lost their 2 leading scorers. I actually really do like San Diego's coach and Steve Lavin in general. He was St. John's coach years ago. I know San Diego lost a ton of talent too, so I'm not really sure in this game. Toast would know more than me here. I think he has a bet on here. San Diego does play really fast. I just don't know what kind of scoring San Diego has here. I do like the under here if I had to pick a side. I don't know about Toast. 148 seems like a lot for 2 teams who's lost a bunch of production and has some bad shooting. But yeah, I'm not playing a side. I'm not making a bet. This is a Toast special.
Andy?
Yeah, I can't bet it obviously, and I wish I could. I would be on San Diego. Ryder already played. That's to mention they played UCLA. They lost by 35. I'm not comparing San Diego to UCLA. San Diego is very bad. They're not going to be a very great team. But with that being said, Ryder is, if you're from the area, Ryder's the worst team in New Jersey, and that's saying something because there's a couple of really bad teams in New Jersey. Monmouth comes to mind. Like there are some really bad teams, but Ryder's a not good.
He said Ryder is not good.
I wanted to bet UCLA the other day because it was only like 20 points, and I was like,
Seton Hall's going to be trash this year, by the way.
So I played San Diego pretty much when it came out at minus 118. Is it 3 now? Mostly everywhere, depending on where you're at. I don't really know. I just don't. I bet it because the line just didn't make sense to me. Like it didn't make sense at all. And I'm not trying to make some case that San Diego is some world beater like UCLA, as Andy was saying, or anything like that. But I do think that Coach Lavin is head and shoulders better than Kevin Baggett. I feel like there's a lot more. I think there's a lot more unanswered questions about Ryder than there is with San Diego as well. San Diego has been getting better with Lavin the last year or so, especially last year. Again, nothing world beating or anything like that. But as far as the context of San Diego basketball, they're definitely building a program there. The only thing that I really think that Ryder can do well and very well is rebound. And San Diego has guys that can navigate through that. I mean, this Bradley kid who is a JUCO star that played in San Diego as well. I think that he can really be a star for this team. Again, in the context of San Diego basketball, I don't think he's going to be a national player of the year or anything like that. But I do think that he is a very good player. And then the other thing with Ryder is that they are one of the worst teams the last couple of years at just taking bad shots. And it's really hard for me to believe that they come in here, even if they've played a game already, they come in here and just find a way to take good shots against the San Diego team that played somewhat decent defense last year. I wouldn't argue about like the team's overall in talent. Like if you went on like, I don't think San Diego is like head and shoulders above Ryder. But I do think that the coaching situation is head and shoulders more with Labs on the sideline. So, yeah, I bet San Diego last night on the money line at minus 118. It's at like minus 150 right now. If you can get it under 3, I'd be willing to play it. Like, I think that Ryder's going to be a team that we can pick on here for at least the first couple months of the season until the lines get right. But this line makes absolutely no sense to me.
Who did Scoop lean in this bowl game?
San Diego. Well, I let the under actually, but that's fine. You don't have to put anything.
Okay.
Do we need to do a community parlay as well?
No, that's a whole big headache, you know.
Understood.
Yeah,
understood.
We'll save that for tomorrow.
I'm just happy that we replaced Kyle with a more attractive host.
And I think that's what we're all happy about, guys. Thank everybody for coming out today. We'll see you all tomorrow.
See you guys.
Have a good night, everybody.
Stay goated.